Every new crazy glitch and mess in Security Breach makes me love it more. It's just what has made the game so special for me. But with the DLC on the way and a coming Xbox release, many people will be considering buying the game for the first time. And I feel as though I can give the most honest showcase of what you might be purchasing. Security Breach's second big update came out on June 15th. I know I'm late. At face value, it's just a pretty good update, and I wasn't going to make a video on it at all. Partially because it isn't as big as the previous major update I covered, and partially because I want Steel Wool to like me. Something that won't necessarily be accomplished by being their main honest spokesperson. Oh my god. There's a lot of fun stuff they broke or had interesting approaches to fixing, but there was one line within the patch notes in particular that drove me to make this video. Updated Vanny's patrol pathing in her boss battle. What? Vanny doesn't have a boss battle. She barely shows up anywhere, and you can easily play the game without ever interacting with her. What's more is that on the rare occasion that she does show up, her pathing isn't bad. I mean, she just wanders around. And upon investigating the update's Vanny spots, her pathing seems unchanged. In the hours following the update release, my community and I had a scavenger hunt of sorts just to figure out what the hell Steel Wool thought was her boss fight. And what did they change? I thought it was lost and found, and others thought it was maybe the E room, because little known fact, Vanny insta-kills you if the timer runs out there. So it could very well be considered her boss fight. And maybe now she could enter the room or something. But then we were given another clue. Fixed Shattered Monty's nav during the Vanny boss battle. Are you referring to the Afton fight as the Vanny boss battle? The only other place where Shattered Monty really shows up would be the Vanny ending, when you've only killed Monty. But Vanny isn't anywhere present in the ending. You just walk past some bots and press a button. There's no boss and there's no battle, which last time I checked was a requirement if you wanted to call something a boss battle. Well folks, that was it. This is what Steel Wool refers to as Vanny's boss battle. And guess what? Vanny has always been in this ending, just never spawned in properly. So when Steel Wool says they updated her pathing, what they really mean is they gave her basic functionality as just a bit of a presence in her ending. With this patch, Vanny spawns behind you when you choose the Vanny ending instead of escape, except just like the other few Vanny encounters, since she's behind you, you could just walk forwards and never interact with her. Now the Vanny ending, Vanny boss battle, is the same unless you stop moving for a while or turn around. And if you do that, you'll be met with the T-posing Vanny, because they broke her everywhere. In making her properly spawn in during her own ending, they made it so that anytime Vanny sees the player, she'll first display dominance by T-posing before running after you. If you're in an unreachable spot, that dominant stance is permanent. Now she just T-poses. I don't know if this is something that ever really happened prior to the patch, but yeah, this is Vanny now. She's in the ending. Amazing. I don't know if I can really get her out of... Okay, it moved me when I... Whoops. For fun, I'm going to pretend this is intended. They just said, fuck it, Vanny's gonna swag on the player before she gets them. Kind of like how they've accepted camera canceling as part of the game now. That little display is what made me decide to make this video. Like I said, there's a lot of good in this update, but it lacks honesty. I don't like how a lot of things are worded, and that little Vanny blunder is just the beginning. If you fixed the issue where the player could get out of the Monty jump scare with an intended hidden Phaz cam mechanic, was it a mechanic or an issue? Some good things. There are now physical cameras in the map where Gregory can use them, which helps the immersion. They don't move or anything, so they're just placed assets, but I love them. It makes the map feel more alive. Comedy Bot has a bow tie, which I didn't know I needed, and elevators have funny little announcements that play as you wait.
Hey, superstars! It's me, Freddy! Welcome to the Mega Pizzaplex. Grab a jumbo slice of pepperoni and top it off with an ice-cold Fizzy Faz. Then enjoy our super games and attractions. Don't forget to stop by Rockstar Row and meet me in person. have fun, and have a Fazerific day. That was not me. That was a recording. I want to make sure you are not confused.
I like that. I like that. That's good.
Why though?
Oh, damn. You got me in there? Very cool stuff. What's a little less cool is the massive amount of invisible walls that have been added to the game. And why? Why here? The invisible wall team has struck again. Why here? You know? Okay. Whatever. Fine, you know, you can have it. You can have it. You made me walk down. You got me. Now, I'm totally cool with invisible walls in video games. You don't feel like building a huge wall but don't want players going over there. Fine. It's the 6 months post-launch trying to tape things up and pat yourself on the shoulders type of invisible walls that I do not like. The harmless places that your players have been jumping over because that's the game you sold them that doesn't have any effect on gameplay? Yeah, 6 months later, we're gonna block that. Because that's how we intended it to be, but we just never took the time to make it like that before letting you play. So now it's just a gut punch for no reason. The invisible wall construction crew hit everywhere, attempting to make the game as linear as possible. And it isn't all that bad. You can't get into the Monty fight without spawning him anymore, which is good. Except it's funny that this very easy fix was never a priority until Xbox releases were on the way. But there is no area the wall crew hit harder than Roxy Raceway. And here's why that was a total joke. Roxy Raceway is one of the most beautiful areas of the game. And it's so sad there's no minigame or anything to do with the track, because it looks sick. Since launch though, it's never gotten harder to get onto the track, and I really enjoyed exploring the area and running around on the track. The problem with this is that Roxy's death cutscene trigger is always just chilling on the track. So you could easily accidentally, or on purpose, use that to skip doing the arcade and kill her early. There's a very obvious fix to this. Normally the cutscene activates when you put the fixed robot head on the cart robot. So just make it so the only way to start the Roxy death scene is by doing exactly that. Why the trigger was readily available on the track in the first place makes no sense, since exploration is one of the best parts of the game and the track is so appealing. Removing the track activation would allow players to freely explore and not break the game. But instead, the solution they applied 6 months after release is just laughable. The Roxy Raceway has been put into Class 10 lockdown. Fort Knox, the invisible wall builders must have worked overtime because damn, they really didn't want anyone getting on the track ever again. Roxy Raceway has become a goddamn stronghold. Normally, go up to this bad boy, you jump over. Oh, it's interesting. You can't jump over. Another way that we would easily get into Roxy Raceway was this stack of pallets. They've made this stack of pallets super fucking tall. So now let's see, what exactly are we dealing with here? Just how tall did the invisible wall team make these things? Ah. And this goes all the fucking way around the entire track. They just said, no, not today, assholes. So instead of removing the ability for players to just activate her cutscene, they have just built a fucking wall. The cutscene trigger still exists on the track. If you were to somehow find a way to get onto the track, you would be able to kill Roxy. But this wall is massive. Look at the size of this thing. And it's the whole way around. I mean, if you go over here, bet you in a week somebody will find out. Yeah, well, it took me about 20 minutes, actually. So I'll show you guys in a sec. I am going to single-handedly fire the team. Steelwool, I'm sorry, you hired the wrong construction wall builders. It's a bit of a headache. My first thought was just these stairs, because like if I can get up these stairs, then I can just land from over top. But like, watch this. Yeah, okay. So just how high is this wall that surrounds the stairwell? I would have had to somehow jump over this. So you may be asking yourself, with walls like these, how the fuck? And I felt very much how the fuck. Such a half-ass solution. Well, it would have worked if they'd been more full ass with it. There is a little bit of lacking of ass with this fix, I must say. And then I just went to this side of the track. And unfortunately for Steel Wool and their new crew of wall building fantasticos, it is still as easy as just fucking doing this. Yeah, it took me like 20 minutes to beat the wall construction crew. So nothing has been fixed, except now players are even more limited on where they can explore in-game. Awesome. Why fix a core issue when you can duct tape the problem away, except still leave an easily accessible staircase? I almost wonder if it'll be hotfixed because it is the last way I'm getting onto the track. I would be beaten if they patched it, but I would take it as a win for forcing a hotfix. Again, speaking of walls, a couple ones that didn't used to have collision do now, which is good. But you went a little hard on Roxy Raceway and maybe didn't fully plan things through. They killed Creeper Monty, which I understand, but he'll be missed. Oh yeah, and I can show that Gigamonty remains while also showing off another mistake that came with the patch. Voice lines used to cut each other off, so their genius solution was to just have subtitles start stacking on top of each other. You can't turn this off either if you use subtitles, so it can lead to situations like this. Nice. Very good fix. Now, I did have the subtitle size on large, and small is slightly more bearable, but if you're somebody who's worried about missing subtitles, you probably use large anyway. And yeah, good luck missing them now. Here's Gigamonty enjoying the new subtitle system, safe and sound. Turning voice volume all the way down still skips all dialogue immediately, which I really don't mind still being in the game for speedrunning, but it seems strange that most technical skips would be fixed, but not this ever-present issue that messes with a lot of people's playthroughs. Was that her boss fight? Yeah. Again, some good things. Movement controls can be remapped. Revolutionary. Mazer size UI fixed so players actually know what they're doing, and fixed dialogue that was recorded back when they intended for Moon to actually be cool and go on walls. Some more comedic improvements include things such as added environmental fog, because that always makes exploration games better. Players can no longer press buttons early during parts and service, because fuck you, David, you didn't wait long enough for me to show you which buttons to press. Quick action replay on that one. It indicates yellow, so I press yellow, and it then indicates yellow and red, and it is very clearly done indicating yellow and red when I start to press yellow. But no, not only do you have to wait for it to show you now, you have to wait a pause after it shows you, or Freddy kills you because you got the combo wrong. I'm very passionate about this, if you can't tell.
On these other barriers over here.
Dude,
So you
they
can't
really
jump over them.
just
I
give.
waited, you son of a bitch!
No, you gotta do them fast enough first.
I like the last button was just ending.
Red.
Oh.
And they
Green.
always do it a shade of red that he can't really make out. especially
Removed the table and chair assets in the daycare so poor Moon Man can actually get around. Screw improving his pathing. The daycare's furniture has been repossessed. Yeah, it doesn't get stuck, by the way. Oh, don't worry, chat. Don't worry. Don't worry. They took out the chairs. Okay, there we go. They took out the chairs. He's never gonna get stuck again. And Freddy has collision now, so no more going inside him, you sick animal. Let's talk about the wording in the patch, which is annoyingly deceptive as first seen with the boss fight patch note. Updated animatronics to be stunnable in the Afton fight. Updated infers there was a functional system prior that just needed tweaks. This is what it used to be. Updated the collectible categories in game. No, you made it so that shirts actually show up in your inventory. Updated interaction collision for a couple objects. They had no collision before. Added in additional loading screens across several areas of the map. This one cracks me up, because all it does is display their little helpy gif whenever the game freezes to load something. I've become very familiar with all the areas that the game often freezes to load things in, but now I have a helpy gif to show me that my game is indeed frozen. But I can happily say that most bug fixes just get to the point and say that they fixed something. There's just some very strange outliers. Speaking of bug fixes, there are so many bug fixes to many gameplay, mission, and general issues. And that's the real positive core to this update. Wow, that's nuts. Look at all these. Holy smokes, man. Is there any game left? Lamau. But my one massive disappointment with this update is their failure to fix one huge problem that I first mentioned in a video just days after the game launched. I said it as one of the things I wanted to hold them accountable to fixing, and it still remains in the game. If you start a playthrough and die at any point before your first save, the game cannot differentiate between save files and will place you in a different save file upon respawn. Since the dawn of gaming, this has not been an issue, yet somehow Security Breach fails to meet this simple requirement of just respawning the player at the start of the game instead of wherever they last saved, regardless of playthrough. It is as simple as creating a save when new game is pressed, so that upon death, the player goes back to that new save. Until they announce that New Game Plus was always meant to be a feature, I will hold this against them. And if you still think it's only a matter of time before they fix the rest of the issues, that isn't quite going to happen. We are generally content with the game as it currently stands. There will be other patches in the future. They're just not likely to be as major as the ones you've seen. It's not like they're abandoning the game, but instead they're transitioning all their efforts to the DLC. From the standpoint of somebody who will be getting the DLC for free since I own the game, I actually prefer this over them trying to figure out why sun kills the player when you flash him. I also consider the release version of the game to be one of the coolest gaming experiences ever, so I obviously have a bias towards leaving their products broken. I have some DLC predictions as well, mainly that it won't be like an extra part of the Pizzaplex, but instead its own application similar to Poppy Chapter 2. Because I imagine Steelwool wants to leave a lot of the security breach jank behind them and make a functional DLC without having to fix SB. I think if you stripped this paragraph of corporate wording, it would say something like this. We just started, and I'm aware many of you expect us to release another dumpster fire, and we understand why. But thanks for being excited, because we're excited to do better. I doubt they'll give a release date anytime soon, because creating high expectations is what got them in such a pickle with SB in the first place. And given that it took them 3 months to stop players from entering Freddy while jumping, they aren't the fastest in the world. And that's okay. I would even guess that 2023 is bold given their track record, and wouldn't make a fuss if we waited longer. The more I play FNAF, the more I realize how disappointing Security Breach was in the story department, having basically nothing to connect it to champion endings like FNAF 6. While I'm open to spaghetti gameplay, I've never interacted with a community surrounding its game more interested in the story than FNAF fans. So I think that all they really have to do to make people happy is give them a tale that they can clamp their hungry jaws to. And because for the first time since 2014, I'm interested too. I'll just make the sound effects. Beep. Click, 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 click. Boop, bop, boop, boop. Bah. Ah, no refunding. Skaploosh.